Morning. I'm going to go through together a few minutes Rambam Hilchos Tshuva to get a deeper understanding, specifically Perek Sheni, Halacha Aleph and Beis. Let's see how we go. I believe that if we don't understand this correctly, we might not be understanding Tshuva or Yom Kippur correctly. I'm sure the words are familiar. Everybody's been through the Rambam Hilchos Tshuva, I hope. But sometimes because of its familiarity, you lose the Almek Hapshat. So make pretend you never saw this before. The Rambam says as follows: Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura. The beginning of Perek Sheni Halacha Aleph. Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura. Just for a second, just want to show you in the Halacha Beis, he says Umahi Tshuva. So these are two different headings. Heading one is Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura, and heading two is Mahi Tshuva. So two different sugyas here, if you will. What does Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura mean? How would you translate it?
What's perfect tshuva? The best tshuva.
And what's Mahi Tshuva?
What is tshuva?
So what's the difference?
The one is looking at the best way, the best spitz way of
Tshuva Gemura.
Yeah. Another one is just tshuva.
Basic. So we have Halacha Aleph, right? You agree, Yechiel? It's the chiluk in the two headings here. Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura. L'chayr the dagesh is on Gemura. I don't know why here he says, I don't want to be too bedactic here because I'm not, why does he say Ezu, why I say Mahi, but maybe it'll become clear. But what is Pashat is Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura. First we're going to talk about what is the ultimate in Tshuva, and then afterwards we're going to talk about what is Tshuva, but not the ultimate in Tshuva. So the Rambam says as follows: Zeh shebali yadai davar she'aver bai. We're starting in the middle of the story here. You did an Aveira, you did Tshuva on the Aveira, you feel bad about the Aveira, you're starting in the middle of the story, or at the end of the story. And now he's a year later, 2 years later, whatever it is, the next part of his life. In his youth he did an Aveira, or yesterday. So now he has the opportunity to do the same Aveira again. So it seems to be skipping the process of Tshuva and going into how do you know if you did real Tshuva. I think, just to skip ahead, that the second halacha, Maya Tshuva, is the process of Tshuva. What is Tshuva? Maya Tshuva. Here he's talking about how do you know you did Tshuva. Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura. How do you know? Can I say I'm about Tshuva? Can I say I'm about Tshuva? Ezu hi Tshuva Gemura. So ultimately, it's like this. We're looking in the future, and I have the opportunity to do the same Aveira that I did previously. Opportunity arises once again to steal, to lie. Same situation which I'm doing. I did Tshuva for. Did I really do Tshuva? So it came to my opportunity, my hands, to do the Aveira, and nothing is stopping me from doing that Aveira. Well, Pirish, but this time, Pirish, I don't do the Aveira. There's the big chiluk. This time I didn't do it. V'loyasa, mipnei hatshuva. But here's the key words. The reason I didn't do it is because I did tshuva. So in other words, how do you ezu hi tshuva gemura, that the tshuva made a mark in my life, that now the opportunity comes again, and I'm not doing the Aveira because I did tshuva. So the tshuva is mechayev me, so to speak, not to do the Aveira. As opposed to, says the Rambam, he spells this out for us. Loy mi yirav, loy mi kishlen kayach. I'm not stopping to do it because I'm scared. I've gotten a little more paranoid over the years. Maybe somebody's looking. Loy mi kishlen kayach. I've gotten older. I've gotten weaker. Right, yira, l'chayra. I don't have the guts I used to do these kind of aveiros. So that's not about tshuva. That's not tshuva. That's just you don't have the guts. That's a weakening. That's not a strengthening. And it's not that I'm old and weak, and I just chanish kin koyach to do the Aveira. Ketzad. Now, in case nobody understands this, the Rambam spells it out for us. So the truth of the matter is, we can stop for a second here. Just pick your Aveira. just whatever avera you want to think about, you can think about. I did this avera, and now the opportunity comes again. Yeah, the Rambam picks like a very picturesque avera. Hare sheba al isha ba'avera. Like somebody has a forbidden relationship, has an affair, has a forbidden relationship with a certain woman. Now, again, he skips the story here, which I'm not going to get to until later. What did I do? I had this relationship. I messed up like this. I messed up like that. I did tshuva. Now I want to know, did I do tshuva gemura? So the only way to know this is alacher zman nisyached ima. You find yourself once again in the French Riviera, and the same circumstances are there, and the same woman is there, and and nobody's looking, and once again, you could fall back into this sort of like Avera mode, or which you might see as a kind of a comfort mode. La'acher zman nisyached ima, and he's biyichud, mamish yichud. Now, just to be clear, which it should be clear without me saying so, but to make it clear, the Rambam's not in any way suggesting that you should do this. It's not suggesting in any way you should test yourself and put yourself in the same situation and see what happens. But, history repeats itself and opportunities repeat themselves. Raya that even though the Mefarshim I see ask, how you allowed to do this, you're not allowed to put yourself in a makom d'sayir, but I think it's not a real question that the Mefarshim ask, because it's talking about if you might never get to this, but the idea is you're thinking to yourself, well, if I would be in this situation, or if in fact one finds himself in this situation, what would they do? The Harai says nisyached ima. The Rambam's not going to tell you to be over yichud. Just happens to be, here I am, nisyached ima. Not only that, hu oimed ba'avasai. I'm just as attracted to this woman as I was to begin with. Like nothing has changed. Sometimes you do an avera, the person becomes ma'us, No, I am in love with this woman. Ubekoyach gufay, and I'm young enough to do this avera. Oh, not only that, ubemedina she'aver is where my French Riviera comes in. You're in the same place, because you could say, well, maybe that place sort of was like Moyer, my Yetzirah, but this place is different. No, you're going back to the same place, same woman, same koach, same taiva. Everything is the same. The only difference is loy avar. This time I say no. Says the Rambam, hu bal tshuva gemur. This is a bal tshuva gemur.
Well, why is the Rambam doing an exact duplication of the original circumstances?
Because otherwise there's no proof that you've made this change. Could be the situation change.
No. Yeah, it's a different woman, a different city.
So,
right?
so maybe.
And he's he's not mishappy with her. That's not tshuva.
It's not tshuva gemur, because or you don't have. Let's put it this way. You don't have a raya, if you need one, that it's tshuva gemura, because tshuva you could always say, okay, you did. Maybe I didn't do it because this woman is not as attractive, or because I'm older, or because of this, or I'm more frightened these days, or my wife, there can be all kinds of reasons that they're not going to do it. So all of that's good, but I mean, better not to do that affair. But it's not tshuva gemura. So tshuva gemura is the exact same situation. Hu sheshleima amar. I just want to go back to this in a second. Let's just finish the words here. Who Shlomo Melech said in his Chachma, best to do tshuva when you're young, because if you do tshuva when you're old, so then it wasn't real tshuva because you're just old. That's all. So there's sort of a missed opportunity, because once en likoach to do the avera. It's interesting, of all the different averas the Rambam picks, it's very, very real safer. Until you get to the bad days, v'higia Shonim, and you're old. Asher Toimer Ainli Bahem Chayfetz. You come to a point where you say, just who wants to do this Avera altogether? Okay, so now you don't have the opportunity really to do tshuva because you really don't want to do that Avera anyway. So the Rambam's like very harsh here. No, you have to do tshuva while you still can. Sin.
But not wanting to do the Avera in itself isn't kind of tshuva?
It's not tshuva gemura.
It's just on the sliding scale.
Yeah, tshuva gemura.
We want Shuva, we don't want Shuva Gemara. We want Shuva, we don't want Shuva Gemara, because we're doing Shuva Gemara, so you're
putting yourself back.
If you were in that situation, into the situation, you would resist. You don't have to be in that situation.
Right,
That's tshuva gemara.
While you're still young, you should do tshuva, not do tshuva gemara. Right? When you're still young, you should do tshuva in case you.
No, but you can do tshuva gemara while you're still young without putting yourself in the situation. So is it to say if I would be in that situation, that if I would be in that situation, I would be able to resist. The Rambam continues, give me a second. So let's say you missed the boat on this one. And you didn't do your tshuva until you got older. Common, right? Retirement plan. And I can't, I don't mean to be critical, but when I was young, you saw more that people had businesses. They were open every Shabbos. When they retired, they became a Shomer Shabbos.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see it so much anymore. Today everybody's just Machal Shabbos. But whatever. I just think
they showed up in shul on Shabbos.
All of a sudden.
By the second million.
Yeah.
That's 7 o'clock million.
So is that tshuva? It's not tshuva. So the answer is it's tshuva. You do tshuva. But it's not tshuva gemara. Tshuva gemara is when the customers are outside and you don't go in. That's what tshuva gemara is. Now, that's... So if you do tshuva when you're older, and you're retired anyway from sins. So and here he introduces a new word here. Not tshuva gemura, but tshuva ma'ula. That's not tshuva ma'ula, moy elas hi loy, it still does something. In other words, good to be Shomer Shabbos, even in retirement. Ubal tshuva, you're called a Bal tshuva, but you're not called what? About tshuva gemura. Not only that, says the Rambam, afilu avar kol yama v'asa tshuva b'yoim misasai. Let's say you never do tshuva, except that on your deathbed you do tshuva. So what that means is, it's made no lifestyle change at all, because I'm going to be dead in an hour. Like nothing changed. I did it Avera until today. I do tshuva, I die. So what's the point? Also something. Mesat b'Javasa, what's the something? Kol avarnoisav nimchalan. That's why it's so important. If you have an opportunity to be with somebody who's on their deathbed, say vidui with them, talk to them about tshuva. It's a little awkward, but it's better to be awkward. Kol avarnoisav nimchalan. You can take away somebody all their averas if you have such a mitzvah, the ultimate kiro. But kol avarnoisav nimcholan, which is interesting here, that all your averas are nimchol, that's not any kind of goal. That's like b'diavad, kol avarnoisav. Like I'm very happy with that. Kol avarnoisav nimchol. But according to the Rambam, okay, that's also something. But we're talking about something else. We're talking about being a Bal tshuva, which I want to explain something else. It's like the gavra, not the chefza. Like I am a Bal tshuva. It's not about my averas have been erased. Okay, we give you it's not even a clean slate for the future. Just okay, come on in. That's all it is. But that's not enough. Shenamar, because the pasuk says the Rambam ad asher lo techshach hashemesh va'or va'yireach va'kechavim v'shavu avim. It ain't over till it's over. Acher hageshem shu yom hamisim mechlal. So from here we learn that if you zachar boiroi, remember Hashem for 1 minute. In such a case, one should do vidui. That's why we say vidui with a mace. The vidui, because the Rambam is going to say that's what kind of like wipes the sins. The vidui. Nislach. I want to show you because, Hashem, if we get to through halacha base, There's three Lashonos that have to remember. Kedai to know this through the whole Yom Kippur. There's Slicha, Mechila, and Kapara. Right? Slach lanu, Mechal lanu, Kapar lanu. So three different things. Slicha, Mechila, and Kapara. The Rambam has Nislach Lai. If a person does Shuvah the last day of their life, Nislach Lai. So let me just explain briefly, and you'll see this lashon is Mishnah. Learn on your own between one Rambam and the other. Nislach Lai, Nimchal Lai, Nischaper Lai. Rambam is very meduyuk in his lashonos, right? So the three madregas is as follows. Like, let's say you're walking in the street and you bang into somebody. So, slicha. Excuse me. It's pretty weak. You haven't. You're sure. You haven't really done anything to the relationship. You're polite. It's nislach lai. Slach lanu, mechal lanu. So please excuse us. Slach lanu. Mechal lanu is forgive us. So it's just a mice of an adam gadol. Every time I used to go weekly to the shiurim of Rav Moshe Shapiro. That's out. So whenever anything, he asked somebody to get a sefer for him. Somebody was in the way. Somebody moved for him. He never said slicha. Never said slicha. Always said mechila.
Zayt Moichel.
Yeah, zayt moichel. Zayt moichel. A higher madrega. In other words, like let's straighten this out right now. It's not slicha. It's mechila. Zayt moichel, as you say. Very good. I never even heard him say kapara. That's already a different madrega. So slicha is, mechila is be moichel me, which is a higher madrega, and kapara is wipe away the avera completely. Like I never did it. Like lechaper alav noseno means like you wipe clean. It's wipe clean. That's what kapara does. So slicha doesn't necessarily make it like you never did the avera. So here the Rambam says. It's two lashonos. Meis b'tshuvasei kol avinoisav nimcholim, and then koidem shav koidem shiamus nislach lai. So there's a diuk here to keep in touch with. So let me just make a quick horror here, sort of a quick horror. The Rambam wrote something called which we call the Shmoina Prakim, Pirkei Avos, Hakdama, Shmoina Prakim. It's Hakdama to Pirkei Avos. The 8 prakim, one of the sixth of the 8 prakim. The Rambam is very, very it's really must reading. It's the sixth of the Rambam's Shmoina prakim. There's only 8 of them, right? So the sixth one. So the Rambam asked the following question. He says he wants to straighten something out here. He says the philosophers. Claim that it's better to, what's better, a person who wants to do an Aveira but holds himself back, or a person who doesn't want to do an Aveira to begin with? That's the Rambam's Chakira. Madif. Like, who's the better human being? Person who wants to do an Aveira, holds himself back, or doesn't want to do an Aveira? So the philosophers say better not to want to do an Aveira to begin with. That's the Rambam quotes Dasa Philosophim, better not to want to do an Aveira to begin with, which is Savir, very Mustavra. Like, who would you rather have lunch with? Somebody who wants to kill, but's holding himself back every minute, or a good person, will kill anybody. Not interested in killing anybody. So the philosophers are Mustavra that the best thing would be like if all of us shouldn't want to do a chet to begin with. On the other hand, the Rambam brings, I'm just saying a Rambam Bekitzer, the Rambam brings the Chazal. The Chazal say that Al Tomer Adam, person shouldn't say, when it comes to doing an Aveira, person shouldn't say, Ef Shiba Basar Chazir. Like Chazir is disgusting. I wouldn't want to get near, like when you see a lobster in the supermarket in America, like, ugh. Like, it's so Shouldn't be like that. You should say, actually, I'd love to eat that thing. Aval mayase avinu shebashamayim gozer alai. But I'm not going to eat it because Hashem said not to eat it. So the Rambam says, you see from here that there's a maila in saying efshi aval mayase. I'm able to do it. It's a better thing. And you find other places also where it says, Kol hagadol mechaver yitzrei gadol mimenu. The Rambam brings 4 or 5 different proofs that it seems like from Chazal that it's better to be the person who wants to do the Avera and holds themselves back because of the Ratzon Hashem. The person doesn't want to do the Avera at all. So the Rambam says maybe we're benigud, he says, with the philosophers on this point. So then the Rambam says, brings another host of Chazal, and he says, no, talui. He says it depends which Avera we're talking about. Not every Avera is the same, says the Rambam. If it's Avera that, like Basar B'cholav, Chok, Chazir is a Chok, so what are you giving disgusted for? It's a Chok. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to eat it, and Hashem says not to eat it, and I'm not eating it. I'm an Eved Hashem. But if it's an Avera, says the Rambam, there it's better to want to do it and to hold yourself back. But if it's an Avera that everybody in the world knows is a bad thing, you don't kill people, you don't steal. Everybody knows. Yeah, everybody knows. So then, he says, then he agrees with the philosophers that it's better not to want to do it at all. So like in one case, you have to check your actions and make sure that, not that I'm not doing a particular Avera, like be very careful with your Hechsherim and all that kind of stuff, be very careful. But there's another thing where you shouldn't even want to do something. If you want to do it, it's already something that I have to examine and figure out, why do I even want to do that? Why do I even want to do that? It doesn't have to be such a dramatic Avera, but yes, I often ask myself, it's amazing how many times in the day I have to hold myself back from speaking Lashon Hara. Then I also ask myself, how many times today did I not hold myself back from speaking Lashon Hara? But it's like a Yetzer Hara that's there. So that probably goes into the category of not like Basar Chazir. I would imagine it doesn't go into the category of Basar B'chala. The category like what's the matter with me that I want to always knock people? I want to always speak about people. So there you got the Cheshbon HaNefesh, says the Rambam, figure out, why do I even want to do such a thing? But there's other things where it's okay to want. It's okay to want to do it. I'd love to do that. I would love to do it, but I'm not going to do it because I'm an Eved Hashem. Now, here the Rambam is mashma, Alisha Ba'avera. In this Rambam here, what kind of an Avera is this? You have an affair. So what kind of an Avera is that? Let's rewind 30 years. It gets too confusing nowadays. But it's not a moral person, an ethical person. It doesn't you get married, you have a family, normal, so. So here the Rambam says, look what this guy did this Avera. Who's this person here? He did this Avera, and then he finds himself in the same place, same time of day. She's dressed the same way. I'm in the same place. I'm not afraid, and I'm just as attracted to her. Omed Ba'avase, just as attracted to her as I was before. But I don't do it because I did tshuva. No, don't do it because you don't want to do it any longer. What do you mean? He wants to do it. Omed Ba'avase.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't want to do it because. Oh, I see.
Kasha, right? So the Rambam there in Shemona Prakim makes a distinction between a Baal Tshuva and a Chassid. So he said a Baal Tshuva, and this is what's important, a Baal Tshuva is a person who holds himself back from doing the Avera. A Chassid is a person who doesn't want to do the Avera at all. Kamash Milan.
That's Madrega.
Oh, so I think the way we have to learn the Rambam here is that when the Rambam says Ezo Yeshuva Gemura, it doesn't mean you're at the end of your path because I gave him about tshuva. You're at the end of the tshuva process. But now there's another piece of it which is to be a chassid where I don't even want to do the Avera. So even in the derech, you with me on this? Because it's a very, very important chiddush, I would say, that even if I come, what in Hilchos Tshuva, the Rambam is talking about that I did an Avera, I still want to do the Avera, even if it's immoral. I still want to do that Avera, but I don't do it because of Tshuva Yafeh. I'm a Bal Tshuva Gemura. I'm not yet a chassid. A chassid gets to the point where I don't even want to do the Avera. It's higher than Hilchos Tshuva. So Hilchos Tshuva is along the way, but here's the catch. The catch is that if I skip the Tshuva part and I go straight to the chassid part, it's garnished. This is nothing. Like, in other words, like, you can't just say you're not a chassid in things that you have no nisayon for. There's a seder l'davar. The process is that one did an avera. That's not necessarily part of the process, but let's say one did an avera. One did tshuva for the avera. One still has a desire to do the avera, but holds himself back from doing the avera. And then when you sit with that long enough, and you internalize it, then that avera is like out of my, it's like I would say a standard Bal Tshuva, sort of like in the vernacular Bal Tshuva. So, maybe at the beginning of those Tshuva years, so like I missed that, pizza with pepperoni. But once you're into it for a year or two, like, that's not your Nisayon. Now the Nisayon becomes Lashon Hara, the Nisayon becomes deeper things. Which hechsher do I use? Badatz? Do I use Chasam Sofer? A whole different madrega now. Like, that's so you don't stick with the same Avera for the rest of your life. This is a graduation from being a Bal Tshuva to being a Chassid. So everybody asks, like, every Bal Tshuva asks, like, at what point am I not a Bal Tshuva anymore? Am I just like a regular frum guy? So, so the joke is always, when you start talking during davening, that's the, but that's a joke. I mean, because Bali Tshuva also talked during that. But the serious answer to it is, that I'm, it's a process. First, there's Avera, there's a whole process of Tshuva, Bal Tshuva, and then I go to the place of Chassid where I've just completely eradicated that from my system. And I go into that place of Ezui Tshuva Gemura. That's the place of Tshuva Gemura where that's behind me, that Tshuva. Which is, by the way, like, a lot of people compare Hilchos Tshuva to different psychological things, like let's say AA. So it's different. Because in the world of, let's say, Alcoholics Anonymous, not that I'm an expert, but I'm a little bit of an expert, not from personal experience, but because I was the rabbi of such a group for many, many years, of a whole number of anonymous groups. As a matter of fact, this is because they used to always take place in church, and I didn't want people to go to church, so I made one in my shul, and it became like, so I went, is that there? Beautiful, beautiful thing. But there, like, it's a good thing, by the way, if somebody, that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, like, you could, let's say, not have, I'm saying it superficially, but let's say you didn't drink for 40 years, so you would need to introduce yourself as, I am an alcoholic, because you never got, I think maybe in the Rambam, like, you can get one step out of that. You can't. So that's like the process of tshuva, but then there is a process of chassid. I want to go a little bit further because at 10 o'clock I'm done, right? So the Rambam says in the next halacha, Mahi tshuva. What is tshuva? What is the process of tshuva? Says the Rambam. This is fascinating. Before I even read this, I want to say what everybody knows. Everybody knows that the Rabbeinu Yonah spells out that there's three parts to tshuva, right? There's charata ala avar, kabbalah ala asid, and vidui. Those are the three parts of tshuva. I regret what I did. I accept upon myself not to do it again, and I confess. I say it. Vidui means you say it. Look how the Rambam says something else completely different. Gewaldig Rambam. Even though, by the way, that's always said in the name of the Rambam, look what the Rambam really says. Maya tshuva. What's the tshuva process? Who? First of all, sheyazov hachoite chetoi. you leave the chet. So the first step of tshuva, azivas hachet. I'm not doing that chet any longer, right? Throw it away, get rid of it. V'yasirenu mimachshavtoi, v'yigmar b'liboy shelo yaseu oid. You get rid of the chet, you get it out of your mind, you get it out of your heart. I'm not going to do it anymore. So l'chayra, we're talking about yazoiv chetoi. Watch carefully here. Yazoiv chetoi, you're leaving the chet behind. V'yigmar b'liboy shelo yaseu oid, which is Kabbalah ala osid. Now watch what the Rambam does. Shenamar Yazev Rasha Darkev Ishavin Machshavaisav. He's a little late on that pasuk. That pasuk should have been right after Azivas Achet. V'chei, now the Rambam says, step 2, Isnachim al Shoavar. What does Isnachim mean? Charota. What do you mean Charota? I already did that. That's Azivas Achet. Isnachim al Shoavar. Shenamar Achrei Shuvi Nichabti. Achrei Adoi Safakti al Yarech. The Rambam's completely out of order here. I mean, he's saying the wrong order. Where does it get to Yisnachim ala avar, Charat ala avar, after you're already Makabal ala haba?
It's in the pasuk.
That's in the pasuk. Acharei shuvi nechamti, I have Charata.
But that doesn't, it's not love, I mean, it could be love dafka. I mean, you can have charata and then do the generally a person stops when you're doing tshuva. You've already stopped.
Okay, Azivas Achet.
Yeah,
Let's give it a
now
name.
do tshuva.
Azivas Achet.
And the beginning.
What's the next thing?
The next thing is to makabel or to do.
And then to have Charata?
Does it matter?
Yeah. According to Rabbeinu Yonah, matters. There's a dafka seder advarim shari tshuva. Charata al avar. First Azivas Achet. You can't do anything.
Right.
If you keep doing the chet, stam garnish. Like you see from the first Rambam, this is not about what I want to do, what I don't want to do, what I do and what I don't do. Actual myself here. But first you have Azivas Achet, which would include Azivas Achet means leave that behind. Charata, I feel bad I did that. That's not good enough. Like Rishoyim Maleim Charata. People have Charata all day for the Averas that they do. That's the but then comes Kabbalah al Asid, but the Rambam puts the Charata al Avar after the Kabbalah al Asid. I'll tell you what the pshat is without being mafalpul too much. I just want to say what the real pshat in the Rambam is. La'anias daiti. The Rambam says here, I'm talking about something different completely. Watch the order. You could just number it in your mind or in your paper. First step is I don't do the chet any longer. That's my maisa. Yazoiv, leave the chet over here. Leave it at the door. I don't do the chet, but I'm still thinking about it all the time. So what's that? That's Azivas Achet, but not complete Azivas Achet. Complete Azivas Achet. I've done Azivas Achet in my Maisa, but I didn't do Azivas Achet in my Machshava. Okay? Well, not so okay. Says the Rambam, it's two parts to Azivas Achet. We're all talking about Azivas Achet here. Yazev Adam Chetoi, which in that in itself, there's another step of Yasirenu Mimachshavta, and get it out of your mind also. And then there's a third step, all in Azivas Achet, called V'yigmar Balei Shelo Yasenu Oid. Did I make a decision? I'm not going to do it anymore. This is all part of Azivas Achet. Meaning, there's three things, right? My Maisa, Machshava, Leiv. Three parts that go into everything I do. So I daven, but I daven without thinking about what I'm saying. So I have a Maisa of Tefillah without Machshava. Okay, but I could still Maisa and Machshava, but I have no Leiv. I'm not emotionally attached to this davening at all. I'm reading the English, whatever I'm doing. Like I'm not emotionally attached to this Leiv. So we always have three levels: hand, head, heart. So the Rambam is saying that when you're leaving a chet, let's learn this properly. When you're leaving a chet, you have to leave it gam l'maisa, gam b'machshava, v'gam b'leiv. I really left the chet. I'm not doing it. I'm not thinking about it. Nor am I emotionally attached to that chet.
Means that you feel bad about it.
Very good. Now comes the Rambam and he says, and look where the pasuk goes. Shenemar Yasev Rosh Darkoi. All this goes into Azivas Achet Yasev Rosh Darkoi B'Shovet Machshavosav. V'chein. Now comes the next part. Yisnachim al Shover. Now I have Charata. Once you do an Aziva, now if you were a therapist, it would say must speak. Don't go back into it. What do you have to relive that for? I've done a chet. I've got it. Look where I've gotten. It's out of my. I don't do that chet anymore. I don't do that anymore. I don't even think about doing that anymore, and I have no emotional attachment to it anymore. Must speak. What more do you want? What more do you want to do? Says Rambam. Okay, that's good, but that's not tshuva. Tshuva is. I mean, that's chashuv, but that's not tshuva. I don't even want to take the drink, right? I'm not. The tshuva is now I go back into the past. So it's like it's torture. I go back into the past and I ask myself, why did I do what I did? You see, because it's very possible that, okay, I don't do that anymore. I don't want to do it. I this and that. But, I'm glad I had the opportunity. I'm glad I had it. It was fun when I had the chance.
How do you parse the difference between the Machshava and the Lev? Because it seems like they're very interconnected.
They certainly are. But one is intellectual, one's emotional. So, sometimes I know I shouldn't do something, but I still somehow find myself doing it. So part of the Azivas Achet is a complete cleansing of that. But, it's like, you go to the dentist, he cleans, he drills, he this, he that, but that there's like, I guess this madrega where the Musar Shmuz comes, stop eating so much sugar. Or deep is, and why are you attracted to do things which are not healthy? People do things physically that are not healthy. There's a certain, unhealthy behavior, psychologically and physically and spiritually. So what the Rambam is saying, after you've gotten through the whole Azivas Hachet, now, and he's going, minachutz el apnim. This is what's important. He's going from the outermost manifestation of Azivas Achet to the innermost manifestation of Azivas Achet. Outermost is, okay, I'm not doing the chet. I'm not doing it, maybe because I'm in jail. The innermost is, right, the rehabilitation process is, I'm not doing it because I don't like intellectually, I finally understand that I should not be doing this chet. You're still not doing Azivas Achet until you've also emotionally left it. Now you can get out of jail, maybe. But that's tshuva. You've been rehabilitated. So now after rehabilitation comes tshuva, and tshuva is yisnachim al she'avar. Here's the drasha. Yisnachim means regret. Right? Vayinachim Hashem al she'aser. It's a word for charata. Of course, nichum is also a word for comfort. Nichum avelim, etc. So it's not two different words. It means you make peace with the past. It's not like my past and now here I am, my future. I'm able to actually go into my past. And it's had kedei kach, by the way, which you see is doinos nasa keschuyos. This yisnachem could be so much so that I go back into l'mafreya, into the past, and yisnachem I have a nechama and a charata. So that's where charata begins, and that becomes your fourth level. Forget about three. So far we're up to four. The four is Azivas Achet b'yadayim, Azivas Achet b'machshava, Azivas Achet b'lev, and now going back to the Chet of Misnachim al Shovar. That's a fourth madrega of Misnachim al Achet. Now the Rambam says, but the Rambam, Shenemar, for this we also have a pasuk, Achri Shuvi, after I did all of my Shuva, meaning for where I'm going in the future. Nichamti, I went back into my past. Now this is the hard part. And God knows I'm never going to do this chet again. That's Tshuva Gemara. So, of course, who could stand and say I could do Tshuva on the fact that I insulted somebody, or I spoke Lashon Hara, or the Haveris that people are nichshel every day. I'm never going to do it again. It's a little bit, am I never going to do it again? You're lucky if you get through Marv. On Motzei Yom Kippur. We're already saying Slach Lanu Avinu Machal Lanu. I'm never going to do it again. That's a t'nai in my tshuva. How could it be? So I just want to make a correction. There's a misnomer here. Everybody who quotes this Rambam by heart, the Talmidei Chachamim, they say you have to do tshuva, and how far does your tshuva have to go? Ad sheyoida love to yodea telumais. Ad sheyoida love to you have to do tshuva so much so that Hashem will be made. It doesn't say here ad at all. The word ad in the Rambam. Vit yoida love yodea telumais. If a person does, this is not one of the steps of tshuva. If a person does step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, yisnachem al sha'avar, and maybe I'm thinking now, am I completely clean? No, you're clean. Yoid vit. At that point, yoid alav yodea talumais. A raya doesn't say here, yoid alav the Rambam Samadayak in his law. It doesn't say yodea alav yodea asidus. That he who knows the future knows I will never do this chet. Yodea talumais. You know inner more. Talumais, that which is so hidden within me. That's what you know. So it's not odd. Forget the word odd. It's always quoted that. I say even in Svarim, I looked on Shabbos, Svarim that are quoting the Rambam because these are big Talmidei Chacham, right? Svarim, they quote about Peh. And they say, Ad sheyoid alav yodea telumais. Ein kazel lashon. It's a metzias, a poil yoitze, that if a person does the 4 steps of tshuva, my chiddush for today, Rabbi says that there are 4 steps to tshuva, ad kedei being ma'akir l'mafreya, and now I have a thing here, v'yoid alav yodea telumais. Now, am I ever going to do this chet again? Chas v'shalom. Why? Because the same process can start again. We're full of chidushim. We're very creative people. So maybe the process can start again. We're trying to avoid that. But at this point, this avera that I did, this process, this I cleansed. I took care of it. Yoid alav yodea telumais. But the Rambam shalayoshev lezeh hachet lo'il. This chet is gone. Shenemar. Now the Rambam brings a pasuk. This v'loy neimar oid alikeinu lamasi yadeinu asher b'cho yeruchim yosim. Last step says it's not a question of the future. It's a question of how real was it. How real was it? That I went all the way in, and this, by the way, if I could take 2 more minutes, I just want to say this, that this is a part of tshuva that very few people do, but it's a good thing to do. That you do the whole tshuva now chet and everything, and everybody has some aver to do tshuva for, but I think this last part is. Like if you go inside and you take it out and you say, like, why did I even do that? What was bringing me to do such a thing? Like, why would I do that? Why would I hurt somebody? I'll tell you something, like people that tend to insult people, barabim. So, okay, of course you have to do tshuva and you have to ask mechila and you have to do all those kind of things and even have deeper charot at the end. But at some point you have to ask yourself, like what is it about me that I do this? Maybe it's my insecurity. Maybe I'm just it's gaiva. Maybe it's all kinds of possibilities. So here's where you can go into the past. I said to somebody yesterday, I think I'm better not to talk to anybody as because there's always the tendencies come out. And if you find yourself why did I make that person feel bad? What must it be that I would make a person feel bad? I think a lot of people do this with their spouses a lot, by the way. They're always, big mistake, if I can give a little Shalom Bayis advice. I'm an old guy already. But, we're always subtly trying to correct our wives. And wives are husbands. So we're nice, but we're always trying to, and it comes out wrong. It comes out hurtful. And I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to say it, and I didn't really say that, and blah blah blah, But wives are too smart for that. They're like God, You have to go all the way back. One has to ask themselves. One has to ask themselves, why do I do that all the time? Even after you get the mechila, why do I do that? And it's like with this with our children, with our parents. Parents, the dynamics are crazy. Children and parents, with crazy dynamics. Friends, it's just crazy. Every time there's a relationship, especially if there's a hierarchical in relationship, so there's always this like this little shtoch, and one has to ask themselves, why do I do that? And there's a reason. There's always a reason. So this is, I think, that what the Rambam is talking about. Let me just finish the Rambam, and then I'm here. I'm not going to run anywhere. But I just want the last part of the Rambam, which is unexpected. This last part, given that we're going deeper, tzarich lis vadois. So first of all, we're all talking about Gemiras Halev. Gamar Beliboy. So you have to do a vidui at the end. Al chetcha chatana lefonecha bezilzul hayrim umayr. Bekapa shoicha. I have to say it. So now what are we doing? We're going from the deep to the deeper to the deeper to the deeper to just saying things. So of course the Rambam says in the next halacha. No. If you say vidui peh, meaning you have vidui with, you just say it, that this is nothing. That's toivel v'sharetz biyadai. That's nothing. We're talking about the following: that I get to such a deep place in Gemiras Halev. Think about this with me. That I can even say it out. I can even verbalize it. I can articulate the chet that I did, and that's, by the way, when you can ask mechila. That's meaning if I've done the work, and this is the work. I have a suggestion there of Yom Kippur, just for Ani HaKotten, Mamash HaKotten, but it's hard to do tshuva on all averos. Pick one. Pick one. Because the process, the process is more important than the aver, in my opinion. But you pick one. But if you get to the point where you go, azivas hachet, just to do chazar, azivas hachet, yasser mi machshavtoi, get out of your machshava, Gemiras Halev, it's different, yeah? Gemiras Halev, yisnachem al sho'ovar, now I could say something. So my dibur is so deep. Imagine, so nafkamina la'alacha is, you say the vidui after the tshuva or before the tshuva? Is it the beginning of the process or the end of the process? For sure, the end of the process. Now, what we say, al chet, I don't think I feel too guilty about saying that because it's part of the davening. I'm not. But at some point, a person really has to say vidui. So, or it could be that when you're asking mechila of another person, that's also like a din of vidui. The idea is to articulate that which I have processed. So if you didn't process it, it's vidui pet. Can't start here. Has to start here. Go to my head. Go to my heart. And go to. So there's a big chiddush in halacha here. Think that after, not to miss any of the steps, but after one goes through the full process, it's you find all of a sudden, like everyone's looking at their watch, Yom Kippur, because it's taking too long. Like the truth of the matter is, it goes by way too fast. At least if you're like me and you got a number of averos to worry about here. But it goes by fast because the process is a long process, and forget about what the shul is doing. This is not important. The as far as tshuva goes, so it's a process that we have to go through. The Gemara says that sometimes you can do tshuva in 1 minute. Maybe it's not a long process. But just end with this: that there's so much to say. This is just one halacha, but it goes right back to the Rambam and Shemona Prakim. But the Gemara says 3 times that Rabbi Hayaboiche, the Rabbi would cry and he would say, Yesh Misha. What's the lashon of the Gemara there? Yesh Misha Kanai Lamai B'Sha'achas. Yesh Misha Kanai Lamai B'Harbe Shonim. Is that the lashon? Sometimes it could be Karnei Lam B'Shachas, Elazar ben Durdaya, Ketiya Bar Shalom. The Gemara has a number of examples where a person did tshuva while they're dying. So the Barsha says, did tshuva, Elazar ben Durdaya, he was a Roman, he was an evil guy, Gemara Avodah Zarah. He was a bad guy, but as he died defending the Jews and he did tshuva, the Gemara says, as they were throwing him into a pot of a kanunya, a pot of boiling oil because he defended the Jews. And he nafal aresh der Allah. So he did a bris milah and a tshuva. And Rabbi heard the story. This was talking about a generation later. Rabbi heard the story of Ketiya Bar Shalom, and he heard the story of Elazar ben Durdaya, who was a Baltaiva, nifla, but then at the end he did tshuva and he cried. So the Maharsha says, what was he crying about? It's afraid be happy that he did tshuva b'sha'acha. So the Rebbe cried, says the Maharsha, because chaval that he didn't do tshuva years ago. If you already come to this MS, chaval that it's on the last day of your life, which is only like the B'diavad of the Rambam. Something kol avanosim nimcholim. Rebbe Eliezer ben Dordaya is muchan lo'elam haba, zuman lo'elam haba. It's something. It's a big thing. But Chaval Rebbe said, and he was crying for his Talmidim, I think. Chaval that a person is already going to come tshuva, just do it right. Do it like the Rambam says, when you're young, when you're able, when you're this. And if we do, then we've created from ourselves, my final sentence here, spectacular human beings. Doesn't everybody want to be a spectacular human being? Just like silk, a spectacular human being. It's not even a religious thing. Like I've really all these things, I've really mastered them, and I don't even want to do anything bad anymore. Become a chassid. Become a spectacular human being, and then Hashem loves you. People love you. Everybody loves you, and you can love yourself. Also, like instead of all day, like what I do that for, what I do this for. I wish everyone a gemar chasim b'tova. Thank you for inviting me, and please come every day to learn in this basement.